Welcome to A Healthy Curiosity, the podcast that explores what it takes to be well in a busy world with self-care strategies from Chinese medicine. I'm your host, Brody Welch, here to support you on your journey of health, happiness, and personal evolution. Welcome to today's show. I'm your host, Brody Welch, and with me today is Dr. Trevor Cates. Dr. Cates is the author of a best-selling book, Clean Skin from Within. She became known as the spa doctor after working in world-renowned spas and was the first woman licensed as a naturopathic doctor in the state of California. She was appointed by former Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger to California's Bureau of Naturopathic Medicine Advisory Council. She lives in Park City, Utah, where she helps patients from around the world achieve graceful aging and glowing skin. She's been featured on a number of programs, including The Doctors, Extra, First for Women, and Mind Body Green, and has her own PBS special, Younger Skin from Within. She also hosts the Spa Doctor podcast. She believes that the key to healthy skin is inner and outer nourishment with non-toxic ingredients, and has her own skincare and supplement lines formulated with natural and organic ingredients. Dr. Trevor Cates, welcome to A Healthy Curiosity. Thanks so much for joining me.
It's so great to be here.
So, why do you call our skin the magic mirror?
So skin is, I call it our magic mirror because it's our largest organ. It's right on the surface of our bodies, and it gives us great information about our overall health. And I think a lot of people don't really see skin in the same way that I've been encouraging people to see. And this is part of why I became known as the spa doctor, why I wrote the Clean Skin from Within book, is I was realizing that when people were working with me, that their skin was improving with the other things with our other goals for their health. And to me, that made a lot of sense, but I realized a lot of people don't look at skin that way, that the typical dermatology approach is when someone has a skin problem, well, how can we suppress that skin issue, or how can we cover it up? Particularly for women, it's, what makeup can we use to cover that up? So I'm encouraging people instead to look at skin as giving you messages and information. And instead of just trying to cover it up and suppress it, look for what that message is. What are the root causes behind the skin issues, and try to address those? Because when you address those underlying causes and you address those root causes, you're not only going to clear up your skin issues, but you're going to either help address and treat other health concerns, or maybe even prevent them down the road. And so it's definitely something I saw in the years of my practice, is that when people would cover up and ignore things, like, for example, eczema, with kids with eczema, if they were constantly being given topicals to suppress it, or not really addressing the root causes behind it, then later down the road, they might temporarily get some relief in the short term from these topicals and things. But if they're not addressing it, then they might develop asthma or some other health issue. And then as time would progress, I would see people then developing autoimmune conditions. So it's something that it's important to look at what's behind the skin messages and address those root causes.
I love that approach because it's so in alignment with what Chinese medicine would have to say about health, that it's all interconnected. So if something's showing up on your skin, that it's evidence of an imbalance, and that the gift in having a symptom or a blemish or a rash or whatever is going on is that you get to do some detective work in your own life as to what is this pointing to for you? And it's one of those things where it gives you immediate feedback, because there it is. You can see it. It's right on the surface. Mm-hmm. So what are the kinds of things that you tend to look for that signal that something deeper that needs addressing is going on?
Right. And really looking for any change in the skin. So whether you have a chronic skin issue currently, maybe you have tend to get acne breakouts or eczema, any changes in that. But even if you don't have a current skin concern, you might all of a sudden develop a breakout of some sort. So breaking out in acne, or developing, your skin suddenly becomes drier, dry patches, itchiness, any of those kinds of changes, it can be a sign that something is out of balance. And also that maybe something that you're doing with your lifestyle, something that you're doing on a day-to-day basis is actually worsening your skin. Or the other thing is maybe your skin is suddenly really glowing and healthy looking. And so then you think, okay, what have I been doing lately that is a good thing for my body? And that's a sign that your skin is giving you there. And then where you develop skin issues is another thing to look for. A lot of times we're looking at our face, but you also want to look at the rest of your body. But if you're looking at your face and you're breaking out an acne and you're noticing it, where are you breaking out? So is it along your jawline? Is it around your mouth? Is it more of the hairline? These can mean different things. As breakouts on your chest and back, that can mean something different. Yeah.
I'd love to get more specific into that, because Chinese medicine, of course, has a pretty sophisticated way of doing face reading. And obviously we've got meridians of energy that zip around the body all over the place. And so we very much are interested in where things are showing up. What does it mean to you when, for example, someone has breakouts around the mouth versus on their back, for example? Like, what kinds of things would you think about?
Yeah, I definitely see that in Ayurvedic and Chinese medicine, there's definitely a connection there. And that isn't my area of specialty, but I definitely think that there's a lot of interesting information that can be given. And I know that as practitioners will use that as a great tool in assessing patients. But for me, when I'm looking at, if people are breaking out around their mouth, a lot of times there is something that it's partly due to something that they're eating, or there's something related to the digestive system, or if you're developing a rash around your mouth, that can be it too. And then if you're breaking out along your jawline, that a lot of times is more of a hormonal acne. But I want to always correlate it with other things going on. So what other signs is your body giving you? This is just one of the signs. So if you're breaking out on your jawline and you're a woman, your cycles are off, out of balance, or you're having really bad PMS or something, that those kinds of signs together is what's going to signal getting to the root cause.
Great. So you just mentioned food and dietary triggers for what could be going on with the skin. And we have on the show talked in the past about things like dairy and gluten being two primary suspects in what could be showing up on the skin. I'm curious, what are other foods on your suspect list when somebody's dealing with skin issues? And also the flip side of that, if we're struggling with skin, what should we not only avoid, but maybe add to our diet in order to make our skin healthy and glowing?
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned two of the common triggers for skin issues. I would say probably the top one is sugar, which probably doesn't surprise you.
Yeah.
Sugar is a big one because of the more pro-inflammatory response that it creates. It triggers in the body, which inflammation, of course, internally can lead to skin issues or trigger them to worsen. I call it skinflammation. But sugar also, because of what it does to the blood sugar, can create problems. We're going to be more likely to break out in acne because what happens is that when we eat a lot of sugar, it increases our blood sugar, which triggers insulin to be released. And with increase in insulin, that can trigger excess sebum production in the skin, the oils in the skin, as well as excess androgen activity. And those are two things that we know trigger acne breakouts. And then also with eating a lot of sugar, it can create glycation issues in the body where glucose binds to proteins in the body. And in the case of skin, we're talking about collagen. Collagen is what gives our skin that nice texture and firmness. And when it starts to break down, when glucose is binding to it, the skin can become more rigid, collagen, and then it breaks down and becomes more, you get more wrinkles and sagging skin. So for those reasons, sugar is probably the number one worst food for skin. And really, it's not just sugar, but anything that's going to cause your blood sugar to increase, and especially over longer periods of time. So it's important to do things instead that are going to help balance your blood sugar. Eating more balanced meals, making sure you're getting the right amounts of protein and fats instead of just a carbohydrate-rich diet. I'm not saying to avoid all carbohydrates because vegetables are a great source of carbohydrates, but with those carbohydrates come a nice source of fiber and nutrients. So I think it's a lot about doing things that we can to balance blood sugar, getting plenty of fiber and things like that.
So it seems like if somebody was struggling with skin issues like acne or eczema, that the first thing that we might do is a dietary cleanup. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and that's why one of the reasons why I wrote my book, Clean Skin from Within, because of a 2-week, it outlines a 2-week program that helps people identify that I have 10 big trigger foods that are the things to eliminate during the 2 weeks. And then at the end of the 2 weeks, you can gradually start introducing some of these back in to see if it really is a trigger food for you, because while they're common ones, it's not necessarily the case for everybody. Not everybody has a problem with all dairy products, but some people are very sensitive to all of them, even butter or yogurt, or that other people might be able to tolerate in smaller amounts. But so everybody's a little bit different. It's about finding out what your trigger foods are and avoiding those, or at least getting your body to a healthier state so then you can start getting those foods back into your diet. And then there's some like sugar that are really best for us to avoid in general.
Right. Because even with all the uniqueness of us as individuals, we're all still human beings, and our bodies weren't necessarily designed to be running 10,000 times more sugar through our systems than our ancestors just a few generations ago were. What else is part of that 2-week plan that you have outlined in your book?
My book, Clean Skin from Within, I have 4 different sections of the book. There's clean plate, clean slate, clean body, and clean mind. So the clean plate section is some of what we've been talking about already, is the foods to avoid, but it's also the foods to include, because I don't want to just tell you what not to eat. I got to tell you what to eat too, right? So things like, antioxidant rich, some of the best antioxidant rich foods, and some of the best foods that have rich essential fatty acids, omega-3s like wild Alaskan salmon and things like that, or avocados, and some of the things you can get those essential fatty acids and antioxidants with that help support the skin, as well as collagen rich foods. Those are all things that we want as part of a clean plate. And then the clean slate is the section that where I talk about how to use clean personal care products, and which ones are going to not only be, clean ingredients, but actually help improve the quality of your skin.
Yeah, let's get into that a little bit too, because a lot of times, I am definitely of the philosophical orientation that the skin is an organ of absorption, and we really shouldn't be putting anything on our skin that we wouldn't want ingested into our bodies. But then you end up spending $250,000 on skin products. So for people who want to eliminate the things that are really the worst from things that go on our skin, what are kind of the most important things to avoid, in your opinion?
I think too, as you're pointing out, I think sometimes we tend to overcomplicate our skincare routine, especially women would tend to overcomplicate it. And it actually can be pretty simple, but we do want to be careful about what we're putting on our skin, because like you said, we can absorb things through our skin. We don't absorb things in the same way we do when we ingest them, but we do absorb things to a certain extent through our skin, depending on the molecular size and our skin and a number of different factors. But the research does show that there are toxic chemicals in personal care products that show up in human samples. Things like parabens, for example, methylparaben, propylparaben. You see paraben at the end of the word. They're in a lot of skincare products still. A lot of companies are trying to remove them because they've gotten a bad rap. And so parabens have been detected in breast tumor tissue. It doesn't necessarily mean, with the research that we have right now, that parabens cause breast cancer. But what it does mean is that when we're exposed to parabens, they can get taken up into the body and get stored up into tissues, including things like breast tumor tissue. So it's not a good sign. We want to be careful and avoiding these kinds of ingredients. Another big one is fragrance. And fragrance is not actually a single ingredient as the way it's treated in personal care products. It's a whole bunch of different ingredients. But manufacturers don't have to put all those different ingredients on the label because they can just use the word fragrance. But what we're not seeing is that there are a lot of toxic chemicals that can be put into fragrance, including some hormone disrupting chemicals like diethyl phthalate that's used to help preserve the smell of the fragrance, but it is a known hormone disrupting chemical and has been showing up in human samples. So those are a couple of examples. There's so many more. There's also, we're using a lot of sunscreens on ourselves, our families, our kids. to protect ourselves from the sun damage, which, is a valid thing. And I do think that we need to be careful with protecting our skin. But oxybenzone is an example of one of the popular ingredients in chemical sunscreens. And that is another one of these hormone disrupting chemicals. And when I'm talking about hormone disrupting chemicals, I'm sure people on your podcast have talked about it. But just to clarify, when we're exposed to hormone chemicals in the environment, what happens is these can interfere with our own hormone function. So they can bind to hormone receptors and either mimic a hormone or interfere with its ability to do what it's supposed to do. So it can, with exposure to hormone disrupting chemicals, we have seen problems with a number of different health issues, including infertility, thyroid disease. We're seeing early puberty in young people and boys developing breasts, all kinds of crazy things happening from these hormone disrupting chemicals in the environment. And they're not just in personal care products, they're in our water and our food in different places. But we want to do whatever we can to reduce our total exposure to these. And personal care products is one of the places where we do have control to do this. And so instead of using some of the ones that I just, some of the ingredients that I mentioned, there are a lot of natural options now, alternatives. So it's not like you have to give up your personal care routine. It's just a matter of making smarter choices, just like you read your food labels or your supplement labels. It's time to start looking at personal care product labels too.
In a culture that glorifies busyness, it's easy to overextend ourselves, making the days longer by making the nights shorter, working through lunch, blowing off exercise, beating ourselves up for not meeting our own impossibly high standards. It can be really easy not to notice that comfort behaviors like numbing out with Netflix and a bag of chips have become regular substitutes for feeling connected to ourselves, loved ones, our intuition, and creativity. Until you realize that you're not in the body that you want. You're not experiencing the joy that you want, but that you don't know quite how to break out of the cycle. It's time to put yourself at the top of your own to-do list and start embodying self-respect. What might that look like? You'd get enough rest. Eat, move, breathe, and connect in ways that honor your being, not just your doing. You'd set boundaries to have more time for what matters most. You'd feel less stressed, more calm and confident. You'd feel lighter and more comfortable in your body. And leading by example, you'd help everyone around you do the same. That's how we roll in my Level Up group. See, I believe that you have the right to take care of yourself, even before all the work is done, and that when you do, you get more done in less time and are able to show up for the people that you love with kindness and patience. I'm looking for 5 people who are ready to start practicing self-respect this September in the next round of Level Up. It's hard to go against the grain of an entire culture by yourself and way easier in community. If you're ready to start honoring your being, visit the Level Up page at brodywelch.com and schedule a discovery call with me. If it's a good fit, I'll invite you to join this life-changing community. That's Brody with an I-E, Welch with a C-H, and hop on my calendar. Now back to the show. So to circle back for a moment, you mentioned the 4 aspects, the clean slate, the clean plate. I want to get back to the other 2 that you mentioned.
I also want to continue on with that, the clean plate. That, I was mentioning that we tend to overcomplicate because we really do. And what I found is that you can just do a simple routine if you've got the right combination of ingredients, you've got natural ingredients, and you're also doing things to help promote the health of the skin and promoting this mild acidity that the skin has, because that's going to help promote the skin microbiome and really have healthier skin. We can talk more about that if you'd like. But the other 2 components of the book are clean body and clean mind. So clean body is other ways you can reduce your exposure to hormone disrupting chemicals and other chemicals in the environment. And also I talk in the book about how you can improve your detoxification pathways through your kidneys, your liver, even your skin, your lymphatic system, and all of that. And then clean mind is about managing your stress, mindfulness practices, because stress is like a toxin as well. And so we want to make sure that we're managing our stress.
That sounds really great and really comprehensive and useful. Well, I'm curious about your own skin routine and what you think people should be doing in terms of like not overcomplicating our skin routines. What is a simple skin routine like on a daily basis or a weekly basis? What kinds of things should we be doing to our skin, and what things do you think are unnecessary? I mean, apart from obviously like eating the good things and avoiding stress, like just in terms of the skin centered stuff.
All right. Of course, it's the whole picture of what we're doing on a daily basis. And it is important. What you're doing on a daily basis is what matters the most. It's not just going and getting a facial every few months and thinking that that's going to take care of your skin. Just like doing a cleanse once a year and then eating like crap the rest of the year. It's not going to really help you out. It's those daily practices that we make. The first step is to cleanse your skin. And I think this is actually one of the biggest mistakes that people make is over cleansing, and where they're actually stripping their skin. Our skin has this delicate pH it's this mild acidity, also this delicate balance of microorganisms that has its own skin microbiome. And when we're using really harsh cleansing that strips the skin, then we're messing with that. We're disrupting that skin microbiome. And that's going to make us actually more prone to breaking out, to having more acne, more eczema, all of these different skin issues that are so common, as well as premature aging. So instead, using a cleanser that has mild acidity, instead of a high pH, we wanted to have a mild acidity, and then also one that's more of an oil-based cleanser so that it's not stripping the skin, but nourishing it. And of course, always say that you want the products to be clean and made with natural and organic ingredients. And then after cleansing, then you want to continue to nourish your skin. I have an antioxidant serum, and that's a great way to add additional nutrients and protection to your skin. And then you want to moisturize your skin. In my skincare system, it's a 4-step system. So we have a moisturizer and then also an oil blend so that people can add some hydration. And the skincare system I have is made for all skin types. What I found is that you don't really need a different skincare system for all these different skin types. It just needs to be made in a way that it can be modified based upon people's skin types. You can add a little extra hydration if you want. And I think it's funny that there are skincare products that are made for sensitive skin, because I'm like, well, why wouldn't we all want to use those? Why wouldn't we want to use the non-sensitive skin one?
Right. Made for rough skin that can take anything, right? That's not so gentle.
And why wouldn't we want to use the skincare products that are made for mature skin to make us look more useful, because we're all getting older, right? Yeah. So we want to make sure that we're all getting those antioxidants and those nourishing ingredients that help us age gracefully.
And antioxidants, could you walk us through that and why they're important for the skin?
Yeah, one of the biggest age accelerators is oxidative damage. And so we want to make sure that we're getting antioxidants both internally and externally to help protect our skin from any further damage and even help reverse some damage that's already occurred.
Great. And you made mention of different skin types. Could you talk about that a little bit? And is basically like dry, oily, or like what are these skin types that you're referencing?
In my book, I wanted to redefine skin types because I felt that the typical types that you mentioned, the dry, oily, mature, those types of skin types, they're not really giving us information about the root causes behind them. And so I redefined skin types. I gave them all human names because I see all my patients as people, not just a skin issue. So they're Amber, Olivia, Sage, Emmett, and Heath. And people can actually find out their skin type. I have an online quiz that people can go and check out at theskinquiz.com. It's a free online quiz. They can find out their skin type. And then I give recommendations on what people can do to address the root causes behind their skin type. Because each of these skin types I created around a group of root causes. I find that there are 6 root causes behind skin issues, and each of these skin types has a collection of those. So it's my way of not having to sit down with people one-on-one. I was trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to help people identify their own root causes without having to come in and see me and me doing that detective work for them. So that's why I did the quiz and created these skin types. And then in the book with the 2-week program, I explain how they can customize the 2-week program based upon their skin type.
Great. So it sounds like the quiz would be a way for people to learn a bit, to get some insight into what those root causes are. Themselves. Great. I'm wondering if there is anything that people can do on their own that's simple, kind of DIY, make something inexpensive that would be fabulous for their skin.
Yeah, there are a lot of ingredients you can find in your own kitchen. Things like honey or oats, yogurt. Those can all, turmeric is another good one. And these are all great ingredients that, you probably already have in your kitchen, and you can do a DIY skincare recipe around those. I actually, in my book, I include a section on recipes, and there's a section on recipes to eat. There also is a section on DIY skincare. I mean, just a simple little tip here. One, sometimes people say to me, what do I do if I get the occasional pimple? Is there something I can just put, something I can whip up in my kitchen? And one thing that's really easy is to make a paste with honey and turmeric. And just make a little paste and just apply it to the breakout spot. And you don't need to leave it on for very long, but leave it on for 5-10 minutes if you want to, and then rinse it off. But the turmeric is anti-inflammatory, and the honey, it really helps with balancing the microorganisms in the skin.
Turmeric is amazing. I've seen that work for things that were not healing for people for years, literally, like, fungus on the feet from like living in the jungle and things like that, or that things that looked like spider bites that were not healing on someone's arm. It's like the turmeric and honey thing I've seen that just be incredibly fast and incredibly effective as a little method. We also often combine it with aloe vera if there is a heat component to what's going on. So another thing that can feel good on the skin and benefit it as well. Before we started this interview for real, we were both mentioning the importance of community and just that how that is something that people are craving nowadays. And I'd love to know more about the community that you put together.
I was realizing that so much of what people were looking for was, when they're reaching out to our customer supporter or contacting us, is that they were excited to see the changes in their skin. But we're also developed a community to support people and educate them, because it's not like people are just looking for, at least for when they come to my website, they're not just looking for our skincare product. They're looking for answers and solutions, not just a product. And so we even are now developing a VIP membership community, have a Facebook group and things like that to support people on their journey, because I think there's so much healing that can happen in a community. And I think that so many of us today are living in almost like isolation, where we're just relying upon our electronics, our computers and our cell phones. And that's how we're communicating so much. And we feel alone, I think, a lot of times. So I'm noticing that the importance of connecting with others and feeling supported, getting information, having a trusted source to go to is part of a healing journey.
Absolutely. And I know that in my community that I lead, we all know a lot of times the healthy things that we need to be doing to take care of ourselves. Like you just mentioned. Yeah, just, like eliminate sugar and stop stressing. And like these things are not just like, it doesn't go from intention to action overnight. It's a lot of times the kinds of things that people can really make progress on in a group, because you have other people saying what's worked for them and what, like, have you tried this? And being able to be with people who get like, okay, it is like kind of like the deck is stacked against you in this culture. You actively have to be doing something different in order to not eat the standard American diet and have the standard American busyness and have, just all of this. And so it can be really helpful to be around the other people who are on a similar journey.
Yeah, I definitely think that who you surround yourself with is part of who you become and who you are. And if you're constantly around people that don't have the same lifestyle that you do, that can be very challenging. And I'm not saying you have to give up all your family and friends, but finding other people that help support you in what you're trying to do can help you stay strong in your decisions and your path and what you know is right for you.
Absolutely. What is your skincare line called, and what is your website where people can learn more?
My skincare line is the Spa Doctor skincare line. The Daily Essentials is the 4-step system that I mentioned. We have a really great auto ship program for people. Also have an exfoliant, rose and a pearl exfoliant. We have supplements too. And so people can go to thespadoctor.com, and doctor is abbreviated DR. So it's THESPADR.com. And as I mentioned before, I've got the skin quiz, so people can go to skinquiz.com. So those are great resources for people. And people are interested in my podcast. It's just the Spa Doctor podcast on iTunes. And and then my book is Clean Skin from Within, which they can get on Amazon. Or I actually have, right now we have up a website. It's thespadoctor.com/free book. And people can get the book for free. They just pay the shipping and handling fee to get it to them. So that's an opportunity to get the book.
Such a deal. That's awesome. I'll make sure that all those links are at brodywelch.com so people can find their way to whatever is most interesting to them. Dr. Trevor Cates, thank you so much for your time today. I really enjoyed talking with you.
Thank you. It's great being here.
This episode is brought to you by my Inner Alchemy Retreat. Hey, what you doing next February? How about you and me and 20 others escape the dark, wet winter and go hang out on a quiet beach in Mexico for a whole week? I'm thinking a world-class retreat center with a 5-star restaurant serving us delicious prana-rich meals, luxury oceanfront bungalows, qigong on the beach. We could do some breathing and moving and some yoga, maybe some snorkeling and surfing, take a long walk at sunset. We'll pulsate between some deep relaxation and deep inquiry work, looking at ourselves through an elemental lens, how wood, fire, earth, metal, and water are at play in our lives, and grounding these concepts in our bodies. You'll emerge feeling renewed with an armload of new self-care tools and a jump start on who you're becoming in 2019. I've been leading transformational retreats since 2012, and they are powerful in addition to being a total blast. But don't take my word for it. Head over to the Mexico retreat page at brodywelch.com. That's Brody with an IE and Welch with a CH, and read what past retreat peeps have said. Then sign up. You know you want to, and you deserve it. When you claim your spot by August 1st with the promo code PODCAST, you'll receive a free downloadable copy of my most popular meditations, Advice from Your Future Self, the Healthy Eating Meditation, and the Breathing Bundle. So head to brodywelch.com right now and check it out. Thanks for listening today. For more episodes of A Healthy Curiosity, you can visit the iTunes store. If you appreciated today's show, please leave us a review. This helps other people to find the podcast. You could also head to brodywelch.com, where you can find free self-care resources, learn more about Chinese medicine, and let me know what you'd like to hear about on future episodes. I'd love to hear from you. Till next time, be good to yourself.